Hello and welcome to the latest in the player profile series. We've done nearly every player in the league now.
We try to. I mean, we've covered about 40 off, I think. That's pretty good going, actually.
Yeah, this guy...
We're churning them out one a day. I was deliberately putting them out.
He's running backs, so you like running backs?
I do love me running backs, yeah.
He's on a...
Is he on a good team?
He's on a good team with a brilliant quarterback.
Oh, I'm liking this already. It better be a good one. I want to talk about a good one.
Oh, he is good, yeah.
Yeah, good. Not one of your Alfred Blue, C.G. Anderson kind of guys.
No. This is top talent. We're talking Marlon Mack.
Oh, thanks.
Going 27 ADP.
Oh dear God! Right, okay. I love the fact that you throw these into me, like as if I'm going to say, "Yeah, love him."
What do you mean?
Okay, let's bring up Marlon Mack's stats. Let's start with that because I think that's the best thing to do. Okay, let's bring that up.
He's going at RB13.
Okay, so he's going in most leagues as of today.
27.
Yeah. So, but in our large league, he'll go early second round, somewhere in that 20, probably that 20 to 24 range, I think.
I'd say so.
For him. Could you give us our numbers for last year? So
908 yards.
Rushing. Yeah. And catching?
103, so that's 1,011.
And how many catches was that, 103?
17.
Right. Because he averages, where I'm going with this.
Well, that's one catch a game.
Yeah, he's
I can do that maths.
Yeah, the reason I wasn't trying to be facetious here. I wasn't trying to say you couldn't do it. But why I'm highlighting this is for the paying public. Well, we're not charging you anything, but for the people at home watching our videos, right? Al highlights it brilliantly. He's not a pass catcher. So actually, what you're buying here
is
a two down back. That's what you're buying. That's what you've got to realise straight away.
4.7 yards per attempt.
Now it is I really like Indianapolis. I love Andrew Luck. I like a lot to do with the team. I like T.Y. Hill, and I've got a very soft spot for the player, and he never lets you down in fantasy. He's very solid. Maybe not exciting as he used to be, but very solid. You've got Paris Campbell if you want a bit of excitement later on in the drafts. Marlon Mack is a good, honest running back. The thing is with him that worries me the most is where Andrew Luck really thrives. If this was a Kerryon Johnson, man, this would be great. Because Andrew Luck could just dump the ball off to him. His hands are some of the worst in the league.
Really?
Right? I mean,
that bad?
The eye test is horrendous on that. I mean,
in a scale of Jordan Howard...
Well, think of it this way. Out of all the quarterbacks in the league, right? I mean, unless... And we're going to try and give this guy a bit of credit.
In a scale of Jordan Howard to Alvin Kamara,
This is...
Is he Jordan Howard
This is down that end of the... Without doubt. And the problem is this, right? So, we could argue if he had a bad pass catcher, right? So, I mean, a passer. Yeah, a bad quarterback. We could argue it, yeah, a Jameis Winston, maybe America, not with the accuracy issues, maybe Josh Allen with an accuracy. You could argue maybe it's not his fault, maybe he's about to break out and become a stud. This is Andrew Luck. Yeah, and you can only get 17 catches. That tells you Andrew Luck does not trust you at that role in the team. That is why Naeem Hines had 63 catches or whatever it was he ended up with last year as a rookie. That is why he's still on the team. That is why he'll continue to have pass catching work. That is why he still has a value in your draft.
Do you know who disagrees with you?
Who's that?
Colts GM Chris Ballard.
Yeah, what does he think?
I believe Marlon Mack is a 3-down Mack. And Coach Frank Reich agreed as well.
Yeah.
He's got a 1,000 rushing yard season, which he didn't have. He had 900 yards, but he had 1,000 all-purpose yards.
Yeah. Right, so he had...
So it says, basically, he's somewhat limited to what he could do with the passing game, but it sounds like the Colts are going to use him as a big part of the offense. Of the offense.
No, they're not. He had 17 blooming catches.
Even the coach is saying he's somewhat limited in the passing game.
Yeah.
And that's of his own player.
He had 17 catches, right? Could you bring up the game scripts, just so we can see that this isn't skewed to the last few weeks of the year where he had a massive explosion, okay? So let's just go through his catches.
No, it's fairly...
consistent, I think you'll find.
He had 3 in week 17.
Yeah.
3 in...
That was at the end of the year when it didn't matter really for him.
He had 3 targets for 4 yards against the Giants.
But you work it out, right? Just work this out.
He had 10 touchdowns, though.
Yeah.
So 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns.
I am not knocking that the guy has a value, okay? And I'm not saying it isn't a decent value that you should pay.
Second round isn't a decent value.
It's second round. But if you're putting him up against, and we could put him up against Derrick Henry and Kerryon Johnson, I would still want to own Kerryon Johnson because he has the 3-down work.
Yeah.
This guy had 17 catches under Andrew Luck, and only in week 17 when the season was dead. And I watched those catches, and I'm going to tell you now, please go and watch the game, right? And watch those catches because, God, it was a liability.
He did miss 4 games though, as well.
Yeah. Now he can
He only
do.
played 1 of the first 5 weeks.
He can do the 2 down work 100% okay, and I think there's a 1,000-yard rusher in there. So I'm not knocking that there is that there. I think there's 11.
And Luck will move the ball.
I think there's 11 or 1,200 yards in the rushing game. I'd say there's not much more in the passing, right? So it's a good.
How many touchdowns?
It's a good pick. Well, you don't know. You see, touchdowns are unpredictable. You hope, but I think Naeem Hines got less than he should have got. So I think it could be a bit of a swings and roundabout situation for him. He might get 8. He might get 12. He could get less or more. So you have to be a little bit wary with this guy. But certainly the upside.
He got 5 touchdowns. He finished strong.
Yeah, did finish strong, yeah.
139 yards, 190 yards, 34 yards against the Giants.
Yeah, but it was the Giants.
Yeah, but 34 yards against them.
I know. Worrying, isn't it? It's worrying. So my point is simple.
27 against Jacksonville, 33 against Houston.
Yeah. Does he do it against the big defences? No, he doesn't. Yeah. So you have to remember, right? This is the problem, okay? When we talk about game scripts, where Andrew Luck has been really great, right, is this. When they're chasing games or have been in games where it's shootouts, he's brilliant. Right? He's a real gunslinger.
No, he's brilliant in every game.
Brilliant. But he's a brilliant quarterback. I'm not, he's top 5. He's a top 5 guy. No question for me. I love him to bits. But this guy doesn't help him in the passing game. It just isn't going to happen for him yet. He may improve on those numbers. I mean, he might get 26 catches, but if he's only averaging whatever it is, 7 and 8 yards a catch, that's no more than a wide receiver. You should be better than that because you're getting a dolly pass out of the backfield.
6.1 yards per.
You're getting a dolly pass out of the backfield. It's the easiest place to catch the ball. It's the only best chance to get easy yards. You can't do it. You got Andrew Luck throwing you the ball and he's not even trusting you. The trouble with them is they're a bit one-dimensional in that way because you know if Naeem Hines come in that it's a third down or a down they need more yards on. So I think he limits you a little in his capability. We'll see if he pushes on. He's definitely a second-round pick, so I'm not going to knock him for being where he is. His ADP is spot on. You shouldn't draft him higher. He's certainly
so don't reach for him, but he's okay.
Don't reach for him, but he's okay, yeah, because he can get you combined.
You can't see him, taking off.
Well, he doesn't prove it there. If he got 30 or 40 catches, you could say, wow, he could get.
Could he get 1,300 yards? I mean, bearing in mind he missed 4 games.
He could, yeah. On the ground, he could. Their schedule is such that there's a real opportunity for him against the running schedule this year that I feel there's an opportunity for him to do well in that way. And maybe he goes past 1,200 yards rushing. That's possible. So he's definitely a second-round pick. The big sticking point for everything will be on receiving yards and touchdowns. And if those regress, I'm not saying the receiving yards can really get much worse, but certainly touchdowns can regress. It's a difficult one to judge. You just have to be a little bit wary. But in the second round, perfect pick. I have no problem with him at all. It's just I'm just saying straight away, don't think that this is a 3-down back because at this moment in time we've got nothing to gauge that on.
He kind of looking at his schedule. There's a lot of teams that are good to run against, and there's a lot of teams that are, 28th or lower.
Yeah. I mean, if you talk the schedule through, let's have a little look at that.
So there's eight games where he's against the hardest defences. So that's half of his games.
Yeah. And if you're against,
there's only 5 that are in the top.
If you're against,
7.
So if you're against hard defenses as a team, right? And we're saying we don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be all over. But if we just say running back situation, and that holds true that those teams are still as hard as they were, which generally is the case. Most defenses don't degenerate too much. We just get surprise ones. That means that you're going to be up against it in the trenches, and the tough yards are going to be tough on the run game, but also the passing game is where you've got to thrive.
Listen to this bit of news, though.
Yeah.
The schedule, in the first 5 weeks, he has 4 of the 5 are against top 10 easy defences to run against.
Yeah.
But after that, it's almost a sea of red. So maybe you get him, and if he's done really well early, you can trade him away.
Wait till bye week and trade, and that I would say is a perfect piece of advice from Al, because that's the moment to strike, because you've got everything in your favour. People will bite your hand off, and you may end up with 2 players for 1 and still get a great running back too. Somebody who struggled the first few weeks who might come onto their own in the second half.
I mean, it's worth thinking.
It's definitely a strategy worth doing. It's certainly his name alone is worth. People will trade on the name.
M&M.
Yeah, they'll trade. They'll definitely trade on that.
Everyone likes M&Ms.
They do, and everybody likes his name, so he'll be all right for you. But he's a worthy pick in the second. Just don't reach for this guy. Don't stretch into
I think
a
that's
first.
fair. I couldn't disagree with it. I don't end up owning him very often.
The trouble is, I've got other running backs
Does he always
around
go
him.
high in these 80?
Yeah, he does. I mean, if you look back on our own drafts, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, would it? If I said this to you, would it surprise you? Let's take the current situation we're looking at. A lot of fantasy people will be looking at this very soon. You're in a reasonable size league, 14 or 16 man league. Let's use that. There's big question marks around Gordon and Elliott. They don't drop to you, but they certainly drop on the ADP charts. But they don't come to you. You're picking near the end. I can see some teams reaching up and taking a Marlon Mack there, 14, 15 or 16. I could see that happening. That's a certain possibility, looking for a running back and not trusting that he's going to be there when they come to pick next. I could see that happening.
Well, if you're picking late, you won't.
Yeah,
You won't.
well, you know. So you could see that happening. That's the kind of thing that could definitely happen.
Did you do it?
No, there are other running backs I trust more than him. There are other running backs I believe in.
Oh, yeah,
more.
Leonard Fournette.
Believe in, I said, not
Oh, right.
that would leave him.
Well, you believe something in it.
I think the
Yeah.
only thing in him is his shin bone injuries. I think is the only thing in him.
Alfred Blue.
No,
Gonna get him.
that's your.
All right. So, what do you think of Marlon Mack? Do you think that's fair? Do you think there's any way he can sort of have a stratospheric rise, or can he outdo that ADP, or is that about right? Is he pretty solid? I mean, let us know what you think.
Well, I'll be curious to see if you would reach for him, and if you would, why would you reach for him? What is your rationale behind that? And then, of course, if you think his ADP is fair, is he the running back that you're looking for at that ADP, or are there others that you trust more? It's a really interesting round, the second one. There's some very interesting players to consider. We've talked about a few of them.
Okay, well, thanks very much for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and have a look at our other videos if you like the player profile.
We'll see you in the next one.
We'd love for you to subscribe, and thank you very much.